So obviously one of the extra benefits of the Expert kit is the introduction of WPS500. So this is our low pressure transducer. The reason why we've put it into the Expert kit is because some of the non-intrusive tests that you can do are really, really helpful when diagnosing machinery where engine access isn't that easy. Now, it's a stripped back version of what the typical WPS500 kit is. Majority of the time is to do with in-cylinder testing. With these types of engine, it's really not that possible. So whilst those accessories will obviously still work with this kit, of course they will, it wasn't deemed that we thought they'd be particularly useful in a kit sort of to start you off. So what we've done is we've introduced a few individual bits. So the exhaust tailpipe adapter, a flexible adapter as well, which will allow you to get onto, say, crankcase, intake manifold pressures, etc. And some T-pieces that allow you to get in some of the low pressure fuel side of things. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to take a look at the exhaust pressure waveform. So, as always with WPS500, we need to turn it on and let the three red lights go through their different stages, which then calibrates the device. We're going to connect our exhaust adapter and we're going to place it into the exhaust. Being as there is, on a lot of these machines, the exhaust is a lot wider than most things. So the amount of gas that will escape around the adapter is usually quite high. It may be necessary to temporarily block the exhaust slightly where applicable. Most of the time, no, we can actually just use range 3 and then use the scaling option within the software to help highlight those peaks and troughs within the pressure waveform itself. So let's hook up the pressure transducer. Okay. The other end of the BNC lead is going to go into our scope. Now what I've done here is I've actually kept our 3 channels from earlier, which involve the crankshaft, the camshaft, and the cylinder sink. So in this case, it would have been one of the injectors, either 3 or 4. The reason being is that now it's going to give us a bigger picture of the actual engine health. So we can use the crank maths like we saw earlier, along with the exhaust pulse to actually see any anomalies. And obviously we have our camshaft and our cylinder sink to help identify which cylinders could be a potential problem. So within the software, obviously WPS500 is still a standard BNC accessory, which means we need to tell the software what we've got connected. So we're going to go in, we're going to go to channel D, channel options, click probes, and then obviously scroll down to where we have pressure. So WPS500, and as I said earlier, it's set to range 3, so select range 3. Switch it on, put it into manual. Now I've gone onto the lowest setting. I'm expecting there to be a very small amount of disturbance within the pressure waveform here. We'll start our scope. And actually what we're going to do is we can just see, even though there's no pressure going on here at all, the engine's not running, we're not quite sitting at 0. So to do that, we're going to just go into the software again, into the channel options. We're going to go to probes. No, sorry, we're going to go into the vertical side and we're just going to go 0 offset. We're going to short circuit channel D in order to 0 the actual channel from within the software. Now I could just quickly jump back up there again, switch it off and turn it back on again. For the sake of just hitting the button, hopefully we should be able to get our 0 line now. Yep, that's good. Okay. Right, let's start the engine up. Okay, so straight away we can actually see a pressure waveform within channel D. Then we're going to want to try and highlight that a bit better. So, As before, I seem to have managed to got the current clamp round the wrong way. So we're going to invert channel C, rather than having to go back to the engine bay and actually switch it round the right way. Just going to move some of these channels up out the way. And we're just going to decrease our time base to something like 50 milliseconds per division. Now at this point we could introduce a trigger. Let's do it. Let's put it on channel C. That will just help stabilize the image according to the current clamp. It's just a much easier edge to find and use for a trigger in this situation. So now what we're going to do is we're going to increase the scale on channel channel D. So this is our WPS inside the exhaust. We just want to get a bit more definition on that signal that's coming in. A couple of ways to do it. The first one is to hover over the axis, and you see I now have a double arrow. If I use the trackpad, I can increase the scale by pinching out. If you want to decrease the scale, you pinch back in again. I can also do it from the channel options and the display tab. So up here we have scale. I can use the sliding element, or I can use the plus and minus options in here as well. Okay, let's just switch it off. Okay, ideally what we're looking for here is a uniform pattern, so there shouldn't be any real standout event that's taking place within the exhaust. The exhaust is the result of everything, so it's compression, it's combustion, it's fuel, it's air, everything that's going on inside the cylinder to create that pulse. Everything, in theory, should be equal. This is where non-intrusive testing can be really helpful, because straight away you can start identifying potential issues. The exhaust, pretty standard, it's usually external from the vehicle, from the machine, should be able to get to it. If it isn't, maybe something like a crankcase pressure test might be a good one to start with. That will give you the effect of blow-by, so if you've got any potential cylinder leakage. Intake manifold, again, we're looking for something that's potentially going on within the valve train. You know, potentially a blocked intake manifold as well somewhere, you know, restricted air filters. All of this information can help start to build up a picture about the engine health and potentially help you chase down any potential fault that you have. Okay, well I hope that helps, and we'll start looking at the next thing.